There were times I remember as a kid thinking, like, kind of wishing something would happen to me. Like, I wish,
Relate a little
yes,
more.
like, I wish
Wow.
that I had a reason to relate.
Yes.
Or kind of the feeling of, like, I can't go through a hard time because I know they've had it way worse.
Right.
All right, y'all, we are back in this conversation, and man, this has been such a good talk.
I've had so much fun.
This is
Really, I have.
there's such dynamic.
I
women.
know. I know.
I knew it was going to be like this. Y'all were back with Miss Gia and Miss Molly, and we were talking to Miss Molly about her dad. I just think the world of that man, and she was kind of telling us about what it's like to have him as a father. And Sonoma, we were on break, and Sonoma had a question. I'm going to let you ask the question. Just throw it out there.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, did you ever feel any guilt living there on the ranch with the other children that
We're displaced.
were displaced, and then you have this loving dad and this home that you can walk into every evening and know that you have a mom and dad there, and just your kind of normal family life, but you're seeing the struggles of your peers.
For sure.
And I'm just wondering, did you ever feel any guilt in that, and how did you overcome that guilt, or how do you deal with that?
So I definitely did.
Okay.
In fact, like, there were times I remember as a kid thinking, like, kind of wishing something would happen to me. Like, I wish,
Relate a little
yes,
more.
like, I wish
Wow.
that I had a reason to relate.
Yes.
Or kind of the feeling of, like, I can't go through a hard time because I know they've had it way worse.
Right.
So there was kind of that context. And then, of course, like, further of just, like, I have an amazing family. And, like, I can genuinely say that.
Right.
It's not just safe, but it's an amazing family. So I would say that I definitely dealt with that guilt, especially as a young kid, because, I mean, kids also, you have other 12-year-olds. They're going to be like, well, you have a mom and a dad.
Right.
We're stuck here, or whatever. So then it makes me feel bad.
Right.
So I kind of got to a place where I just wouldn't mention some things. There were things that I didn't want because I was like, I don't want to have something that the other kids can't have. So, like, whenever I eventually got a phone, I was very, like, self-conscious about that. I was like, I don't want it. Just keep it out of my sight as long as you can. Because, like, I didn't want to have something and accidentally rub it in their face or anything like that.
Right.
But, honestly, I don't think that's a bad thing, honestly.
No.
But in terms of, like, actual guilt, I would say that I definitely struggled with that for a while. I didn't know what to do with that because I was like, I can't apologize to them for having something that was given to me. But something that my dad has always said and talked about, because he grew up in a pretty good home life as well, is he said that he tries to not see it as having something that they don't have, but as something that he can strive to give to them.
Right, to share.
So something that I see it as now is I see that I had a great family, that I have people who encouraged me, people who gave me a good example. And now there's kids here that if I get stuck on the fact that I have it and that they haven't had that, then I'm not going to be able to show them what that's like.
Right.
So getting to work with them and saying, look, these people love you. These people want to encourage you. Your house parents, they're great examples of what it looks like to follow the Lord. Like Gia's house parents, I love, or her past house parents, they're still here. I love them so much. They serve the Lord just so faithfully. And I think that's the perspective that kind of shifted that. And I would say that kind of that guilt was what got me into the place that eventually led me to wanting to get serious about my faith. Because I kind of hit a rut where I was like, I don't understand why I'm struggling so much just living life. I was like, I don't understand the purpose of everything. I just hit this rut of just like, I'm going through a hard time, but I don't feel like I'm allowed to go through a hard time.
Right.
Because, like, again, everyone else has had it so much harder than me. And so I was just like, I just feel so weak because I'm not thriving like I should be. I was put in this amazing place and yet I'm not able to thrive. But it's because I wasn't like abiding in the Lord and I didn't understand what that relationship looked like. So I think eventually once I got in that relationship with the Lord and he like called me out of that place of self-pity, I was able to kind of look back and realize like, it's not about me.
Right.
It's just not about me.
Right.
It's about serving him and then serving others. And if I'm so fixated on myself and I get caught up in that self-pity, then I'm not able to move on and serve him faithfully, which in turn can help other people.
Absolutely.
So I would say that was kind of the spot that I was in. And as a kid, it was just kind of a kiddish thing, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, stop hugging my dad. That's my dad, you know.
Yeah.
But then, you know, as I got older, the Lord kind of showed me how that was just a mission in itself.
Right.
So.
Right. And it shifted to you get the privilege to share.
Yes.
There's so much love there
Yes.
that you get to share that.
Yes.
And that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So how did y'all are like sisters. I mean, truly sisters. How did that relationship really blossom and bring y'all to where you're at now?
You got it.
Yeah. Well, when I got here, I walked into the office where they have a display of all the children who are currently there, who are past graduates or
My favorite wall.
Exactly. And I kept hearing, "Oh, you're gonna love Molly. She's great." And I was like, "Oh, who is this Molly girl?" And I met her and I was like, yes, that's why. I would say, and you can correct me on this too, in high school, we were friends. We were on the volleyball team. Now she's a grade older than me. Yeah. When I was a senior in high school, she was a freshman in college and she was my volleyball coach as well. Yeah. So that shifted as well. So I only saw her during school because I went back to the houses after, she went back home, but school is where we saw each other. We were in classes with one another. We were on the volleyball team. And then even when she graduated, she was my coach. But I would say our friendship really blossomed when we started to do life together, living alongside one another. We're both older now. So I'm a freshman in high school, or a freshman in college.
You're a sophomore.
Right, I'm a sophomore. But at the time, I was a freshman in college. Yes. And then she's a sophomore in college. So now we're finally getting to do life, actually living with each other. And I can talk to her whenever I wanted, not just at school as well. And that's when we both know the Lord and we're taking our relationship with him seriously. And I think kind of like what you're saying with your dad, you're able to further a relationship with your father because you see and understand his love for the Lord and how that in turn results in how he interacts with everybody. I think that's when our relationship furthered is when we understood the love for the Lord and were able to just connect and relate in that sense, live alongside one another, chasing him together. And now sometimes it gets ugly, and there's so much grace in that. There was a point where kind of like what you were saying, I resented her for having a good relationship with her father and her mom and having a good family. And I wasn't mean to her. I just was withdrawn and
kind of standoffish
and distance. And at one point, the Lord just overwhelmed me, and he was like, "Gia, what are you doing? This is your sister. Why are you jealous of a gift that I've given her and that she's been able to steward so well? Why am I having so much hate for that?" And so I had come up to her one time, and I was like, "Can I just talk with you?" And she obviously talked with me, and I explained to her everything that I had just told you, and I just said, "I'm sorry, and I don't want to have this burden anymore, this hate." And you want to kind of say your perspective off of that?
Well, I do remember that conversation.
Yeah, just that
part. I listened, and then I was like, okay. And then I just kind of sat there and I looked at her and I was like, it's okay.
Exactly.
I was like, it's forgiven, you know? And she was just like, oh.
And that's just because we both know the Lord, and we know that there's so many things that may seem big and catastrophic in relationship ending in the secular world, but that's literally nothing to us because
I remember she was like, I got really worked up about this conversation. And then she was like, and I'm just
just so easy.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I would say just college life, as stereotypical as that is, but we really get to see each other in low moments, high moments, get to exalt one another.
Right.
Now we're great accountability buddies. I'll go to her with things that I'm struggling with, disciplines of the Lord and fruit or lack thereof. And I'll just be vulnerable and raw with her, be like, Molly, I am struggling, and then she'll back it up with scripture and wisdom and nothing like, exactly. Not like worldly models, like protect your peace or like, it's all about you. No, it's not about you. And that's exactly. And she told me like, Gia, humble yourself before the Lord humbles you.
Yes.
And so that's a sister in Christ who won't let me stray away from the Lord, who will see when I stray away and then correct me in a loving manner and also in a way that I need to hear it.
Right. Yeah, because our personality types, they're all different. And so if someone were to come to me and to show me some correction, I'm not saying like you have to come to me in a certain type of way. I'm not saying that. Right. But our personality types are different, and God knows. God knows that. I mean, He's gonna send someone to you that's going to be able to relate to you and to tell you, how you need to. How you need to be told and to love on you and stuff. So, and just the maturity is like overwhelming to me. I'm over here sitting like, can I take notes?
When I remember, like I said, I've been there since 2017, and I was just thinking about this the other day. James had just taken over. There was a whole changeover in the board. Your dad was there through the end of that. There was an executive board and there was a school board. And there was conflict. And ended up streamlining that into one board. Yeah. Your dad went from principal to headmaster. Yeah. And since then, this board has been fairly unified with James. Very few changes. There's been a couple of people that have come and gone, but for the most part, it's been one unified board. And I was just thinking about this the other day, and when we were at Puts and Blink, it's almost like, well, we've grown up together. I mean, we're grown adults, but we're learning how to do this thing together. Right. And there's been some really hardship with Still Creek that we've gone through. There's been years of abundance. There's been years of blessing. There's been years of hardship. And I mean, just hardship. But I'll never forget the day that your dad came to the board wanting to do the transitional program. And, I've always been felt drawn to youth and kids and that kind of thing. I'm not equipped the same way your dad is. I'm more of a back scenes kind of guy. And so, but I was involved in CASA. Okay. And I was a CASA for several years. And still some of the most cherished things I ever did was with CASA. But, when you start looking at those kids, when they get out, when they age out, they're gone. And I'll never forget your dad wanted to fix that problem at Still Creek. And we had that house we didn't know what to do with it. He wanted to make it a transitional living place. And so we did that initially with the boys and then the boys and the girls. And to know that, he is constantly thinking through strategically the best way to provide and to give a chance to the youth there. To know that in actuality that its fruit is relationships like this because you had a chance to transition from being a student to being a young adult and leaning on one another. Or quite arguably, even a regular household, kids out and gone, and they're out there on their own, and they still, there's a disconnection there. But y'all got such a sisterhood and brotherhood there at that school that it cultivates an even deeper relationship. So, for me, it just brings me so much joy knowing that decision led by your dad to do that has led to relationships like this and foundations in Christ like that. That means a lot.
Right. Yeah. I'm grateful for it that he wanted me to stay in so I can do life. And Molly's in launch as well. Yeah. So she's out of her parents' house and she's learning how to live with other people. It's just life skill to learn how to live with a roommate and
it is.
be an adult.
It is. And going to that transition of being accountable for yourself. You know, so yeah, that's huge things. Absolutely. You know, there was a couple other things that kind of came to mind as we were talking through this, and we were on one of the breaks, and we were talking about testimony, and Gia brought up, you know, as you were talking about your testimony, it was like, I want to focus on the good.
Yes.
Can you speak a little bit about what you meant by that?
Because I feel like so many times, I mean, your story is your story, but you tell the testimony to highlight the Lord in it. It's not to highlight the evil of the world, but it's to recognize it in the evilness that it is, but then highlight how the Lord is behind the scenes and right in front of you the entire time. I think sometimes people can get focused on just dwelling too much on the past and the negative and not emphasizing on the Lord and how he brought you out of that. That's where it is.
It's all for his glory. It's all for
precisely,
you know, for us to be able to glorify him, and even in those hard, dark times, so we still have the opportunity to glorify him. And in doing that, brings healing to ourselves. So each time that we share and each time that we glorify him even more, and die to ourselves, you know, a little more, it's a little more healing. And then the next thing you know, you look in the mirror and you're like, who is this person? You know, I knew someday that I might get to be this person, and it's just really refreshing to hear young people learn it so soon. You know, because it is. It's when you can learn some simple. I say simple. It's not always simple by any means, but you know, to be able to glorify him, die to ourselves, glorify him, and then in doing that, we don't even know what all he's doing on the inside until you wake up one day and you almost don't recognize the person that you are now.
Right. And it kind of answers the question why some people I had this question when I was new to the faith, like, why does God let us go through bad things? Why does God let us suffer?
He's such a loving God. Why do we?
Why did he take my mom? Why did he take my dad, my grandma or grandpa, whatever the situation is? And then some people may get mad at the Lord for that. Well, he lets you go through these sufferings because it's all for a reason. And we may not be able to see it at that time, but it's all for a reason. And he has an ulterior ending that we're not able to see, but he knows it. And sometimes we just get clouded in the fact that, like, no, we're just sitting and suffering. But no, it's so that we can, if we don't suffer, then we don't see how great the Lord is. Right? If we could pull us out of that suffering, we wouldn't need the Lord. But no, we need the Lord because he's the only one. Through his death on the cross, through salvation, that's how we're able to get out of it, because he bared the ultimate suffering. And so that's why you can't expound too much and highlight the Lord.
You got to have the valleys and the hills. You know, because growth happens in the valleys. That's where everything's green. That's where you get sustenance. That's where you get your water. That's where you get the things that nourish you. But at the same time, that's where you go through all the stuff, you know.
Right.
And then you have to have some periods of time where you get to the mountaintop, where you're extremely close to him, but you're able to get some perspective and see, oh, well, that's where I came from.
Right.
And that's where he's trying to take me. All right, time to go back down.
Here we go.
You know, because I got another, 10 miles to go up there. But if you don't ever have a chance to get to that mountaintop, you don't ever have that inspiration to go to the next step and realize exactly where you came from. But those valleys are so healthy. But we get to...
nobody likes to go to them.
yeah, because we're mosquitoes and humidity and all that stuff, which is horrible. But,
Yes.
But in those sufferings, the Lord tells us that he wastes nothing. And we live in a fallen world. And these things are going to happen just because we were born into this world. But he will take those things that were meant for evil and turn them around for his...
Redeem it.
Right. Turn them for his glory. And so we have to look at that too. That sometimes that's hard. We have to take a step back and go, I live in this world, it is a fallen world, and these are things that are going to happen as a result of sin. But he wastes nothing. So everything that the enemy tries to bring us, everything that the enemy has tried, even our own self-demise that we have done to ourselves, he still will take those broken pieces and he still will say, I can use that.
Yeah.
I can do something with that. I have a plan for that if we humble ourselves. And that's sometimes where we get lost in translation. Nobody wants to humble themselves. You know, it's not always a fun place to be. You don't want to go to the valley, you know. But so they say there's peace in the valley.
They say there is. Yeah.
No, because if you're not in the valley, I mean, usually that's when we become closer because we're desperate. We're reaching out. You know, we're in pain. We're hurting. We're sad. We're depressed. We're, you know, whatever it is in that valley, that's when we tend to reach out to him even more and try to get even closer because it hurts, you know, and he tells us that he's close to the brokenhearted. He's like, okay, it's about as broken as I can get, you know, so come get close to me, you know, even though you weren't the one that walked away, I did, or, you know, I didn't stay in my word like I should, or, you know, whatever. But it's still good to walk with him, always. Always.
And that's part of, like, kind of what we were just talking about, is like why our friendship has grown so much, is because we've been able to see each other through those different areas. And it's just, I don't know, we get to practice what it looks like to be the church and to be sisters in Christ with one another, even whenever we kind of stumble sometimes. And I'll never forget a time back in high school whenever it was like before we genuinely became like best friends. But there was a time that her and I were both like secretly jealous of each other, but we didn't tell each other.
Right.
So I'm over here thinking, oh, she's so cool. She's so much better than me. And I was jealous of her, but then she was thinking the same thing. And there was one day we like came to each other and we were like, look, I'm so sorry. I just have to tell you, I've been really jealous and I've been holding a lot of resentment. And it was like, wait, really? Me too. And like, I always think about that as one of the first times that her and I saw what it looks like to have accountability with one another.
Right.
And we've just been able to walk honestly since then and just bringing things to one another. And it's really cool because walking with her has really helped me just to see what Christ-like friendship looks like.
Right.
And we're both learning to some degree what that looks like in the real world.
Yeah.
And it's just been really cool because we get to pray with one another and just in everyday life practicing saying, hey, you know, this is a mundane, boring moment, but like, let's turn it into, let's pray about something or just something along those lines. And it's just been cool having someone who you've gone through the valleys and the mountains and being able to turn those moments into something that glorifies the Lord.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So have y'all been able to take this to your campus? Are y'all part of any movements on campus, or do y'all have something that you're doing on campus where you're taking this and you know, taking it to the secular world?
Well, I would like to brag on Molly for a second. We go to different churches. So she goes to First Baptist Bryan and I go to Restoration Church Bryan. So we're both in Bryan. And so one thing that I always say is Molly leads a Bible study at her church. So her and a partner, and they faithfully lead a Bible study every single week. Now, whenever I meet new believers or I meet somebody who is in need of plugging into a just community group, I always plug Molly. I'm like, well, my friend has a Bible study at First Baptist Bryan. And I also plug mine as well. Now, I'm not the leader of it, so like, I just invite them as friends, but I also know Molly, like in her ministry, like I know her and I know her heart and I trust her. Exactly. So I think it's just a part of being able to be proud of one another and support each other's successes. Like that's something that's not in secular friendships. Like people envy each other's.
You could be someone's very best friend and just love them to death, and it's still sometimes that jealousy creeps in,
right?
You know? And
right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just because we have the Lord in our friendship, we're able to celebrate one another instead of secretly like being jealous.
Yeah.
You have the Lord in your friendship,
Right.
but you also the Lord has moved you to a point where you have some humility and courage. So there's a manner of character He's built in.
Right.
Through your circumstances and through your circumstances, from two totally different spectrums to the middle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you don't understand now how profound it is
Right.
that two young women are humble enough to come to each other and say, and then have the courage to say, I've been feeling this way. And then to actually have that confrontation.
Yeah.
That does not exist
Right.
very much at all. And there's times that I've been a very loved, hated individual because I used to not be this way, but I'm very confrontational now. And if there's an issue, we're going to have that out.
Right.
Because I would rather address it and get that burr out from underneath the saddle now
Right.
than to let it prolong, you know?
That's true.
And so the humility that y'all have and the courage that you have to sit down and do that, each time you do it, it gets easier.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it's just second nature now. You know, I would think like, hey, can I talk to you about something? Or like,
Yeah.
hey, you know, I'm feeling some type of way, or, you know, whatever. And then, but also too, those may even become lesser issues,
Yeah.
you know, as you continue to grow in
Yeah.
humility and things like that. Those instances will probably be further and further.
And something we always talk about is the concept of we're not calling each other out.
Right.
We're not just pulling something out to embarrass one another or to make a big deal about it, but to call each other higher.
Right.
So not to call each other out, but to call each other higher. And we always talk about just like how Paul talks about walking worthy, saying, hey, there is this thing going on either in my life or something that I'm seeing, maybe a behavior. It's just like, we need to call each other higher to serve the Lord together.
Right.
And it's not to embarrass you. It's not to say that I'm better than you. It's just coming to each other humbly and being able to say, we're both in this for the long haul to serve the Lord. And we want to run the race with endurance.
Right.
So we're going to show each other whenever it's like, hey, you're carrying something that's weighing you down right now. And you need to let go of that if you want to run the race faithfully.
Yeah, because you're slowing me down now. I'm trying to run this race here.
Together, right.
But that's what's fun. It's like sometimes we bring things to each other, and then sometimes it's like, hey, I see this going on with you.
Right.
But it's always like what y'all were saying, is just having someone else who has the humility with that makes it so much easier, and it just starts to grow you. Because I'm not good at being confrontational.
Yeah.
Gina knows that. I'm not good at being confrontational, but she's started to teach me what it looks like to have boldness in friendships and how to approach someone with gentle love, but also like truthful love.
Exactly.
Not hindering or watering down the truth just because you're afraid of bringing something to someone's attention.
Right.
So I had a friend, I gotta look this up. I had a friend that said this the other day on his podcast, and he shared it again that night. And it was, gosh, it was profound. Here it is. Love without truth isn't love, it's deception. Truth without love isn't truth, it's aggression. And gosh, man, he said that day. It's just really hit me.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, by and large, the church misses a lot of that. Especially the truth and love part. You know, they're quick to speak truth, but it ain't in love.
Right. Well, I mean, it's the same like when you discipline a child. If you're not disciplining a child in love, it's abuse. You know, and so it's the same thing. It has to be in love, because if not, then what's the opposite of love? Then, you know, God is love, and the opposite of that is the enemy. So you can't walk with both.
Thank y'all for joining in. Again, if you want to support Steel Creek Ranch, go to steelcreekranch.org. There's multiple ways to give or pray or volunteer. Even if you're not from Texas, there's still ways to be engaged.